Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Jallo. If you can hear me, just send me a message or comment to let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. If anybody can hear me, just let me know. I want to keep this brief to start. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's me, Suleiman Ben Suwareh, coming back on Facebook Live to do a brief reaction to the unfortunate situation we are facing right now, which is I want to react briefly on the peaceful attempted, and I emphasize the word attempted peaceful demonstration, because they have not even started their demonstration and they were ambushed and taken away. I'll come to that. But secondly, I want to react to and hold accountable of the chairman of the Human Rights Commission and the chairman of the Media Council of the Gambia. These are the areas I just want to concentrate on, briefly for that matter, because tonight, inshallah, we'll have a program with Alaji Salu on Askani Gambia TV, Askani Gambia radio platform. And as I say, it's unfortunate. It's not strange in democracy to have people to come out to protest. It's part of the fundamental, human rights of individuals, of citizens, to show their frustration and to challenge the executive, especially in instances where the executive, the legislature are not effective. We expect civil society to step in and to deal with the concerns. This is expected in a democracy. And this is what we fought for, to have these rights. And I will just briefly remind Gambians that the mandate that brought Barrow to governance, it's a mandate of protecting our fundamental human rights. That was the most important part of him coming to power. People have to lose their lives. People have to do everything for 2026 to happen. In the sense, the memorandum of understanding that we had in the coalition, which was translated to represent the manifesto for the coalition. Principally, it was human rights and freedoms and justice for Gambians. Then secondary, to make sure we have our reforms and avert it happening again. But we have seen that completely fail by the constant need for the executive, who have fear because of they know what they created. And why do I say that? To the extent of wherever you see in a democracy or in any governance, that we see the president selecting family members to put them in strategic position, like the Inspector General of Police, tells you a lot. They know what's coming, to hunt them. And this is what Gambians should realize. For people to demand, to protest, is their fundamental freedoms, part of their fundamental freedoms. The freedom of speech, freedom of assembly is protected by the Constitution. And let people not confuse this. To apply a permit does not mean that you are renegating your rights to the police to allow you to protest. No, you are notifying. Asking for a permit, you are notifying the police in order for them to able to do their services to protect you. You are notifying the police to make sure the protest is peaceful. If let's just think about this. If someone plans to disrupt, not to have a peaceful protest, you think they would have made themselves known? You think they would have applied for a permit? Not absolutely. They applied for a permit. And the only reason they deny them the permit is because they don't want them hurt. They want to, deny them their fundamental freedoms. And this is, we hold the IGP accountable, and it's not, it's not new. They have been doing that. And the protesters, the youths that protested, who attempted actually to protest, did not break any law for that matter. No. If you look at the law, I don't have time to look at the section or whatever, but we have dealt with this numerous times. What makes us different from the dictator? You have a right to assembly. You don't have to have a permit to assembly to speak or anything else. If that's the case, then anybody going to any gathering would have to seek. We are not in a police state. Permission to do that. They don't have a microphone that will amplify and disturb anything else. They were within public area. They are not obstructing traffic. They are not doing anything that disturb the lives and movement of people. They have a right to do that. And it's very progressive. And it's very good for democracy. We have witnessed youths from different backgrounds. There's nothing like tribe being represented there. There's nothing like religion being represented there. There's nothing like party being represented there. We have Gambian youths as civil society represented to show their displeasure. For what? Why? I can tell you. There are so many issues every day that should warrant people to go out and protest every minute. In Gambia, it's even rare for people to protest. But it's not, and still, the government doesn't want anybody to protest. They will have gatherings all the time. The NPP have gatherings every day, any minute. But we have never heard of them seeking permits or be denied permits. Anything that is to advocate for NPP, it's allowed. But anything to oppose or show displeasure of this administration is denied. Now, who's causing the trouble? And what the civil society asks for, what the youth asks for, it's not unreasonable. It could have been avoided. In the first place, if the government was transparent. And transparent, it doesn't mean to produce the receipts when you are asked. Transparent is to do things in a manner that people would not even need to ask, because it's transparent, as it means. The literal meaning in English, you can see through it. You can see through it. There's nothing ambiguous. There's nothing cloudy. There's nothing blurring the mind. You have done it right. You have structures, you have mechanisms put out there that citizens can find the facts without struggling. But for a government for over the years that have been refusing to reveal public information, to the extent of the justice minister, the advisor of law for the president or cabinet, to the executive, to come to parliament and say that, no, I cannot do that. Why? The privacy of people. You buy my property. You buy my property. You buy my family property, and I should not know who bought my family property. You see, that's where the problem is. Do you know why? If people hide something, because they are wrong. If people hide something, it's because of they are wrong. The government is wrong. The government have to be indicted. That's why I want to say again, because mind to keep it brief. What we saw yesterday, and I'm just waking up. I didn't have time to look at this thing, because if I do, I'll not have time to do this, but I'll do that. And what we see ongoing is a great concern, because we noticed, we have said it, we haven't got the security sector reforms, because the government don't want a security sector reform. They want a continuity. in order to self-perpetuate themselves to power. And this is the reason the president refused to accept the 2020 draft. Because the 2020 draft brought in the mechanisms to hold him accountable and to reduce the powers of the executive or to put it in check and balances. Because there's no independent institutions created under him or under him. And we'll get to that. This is the reason he refused the security sector reforms. This is the reason he has certain people and continue to give them contract within the police. And we are still waiting for the state. The state, I am not saying allege, if what we had in the courts is not sufficient enough to say that the government had no evidence that can hold Usainu, the guy they accused for killing the cops. Nothing, absolutely. We knew from the beginning. And we are waiting for the government to be held accountable for killing our police officers. This is the sad thing about it. We are going back to a dictatorship. The beauty about it is people starting to get to the point. Now the youths are getting up to the point to realize we have to do a lot of work, and inshallah we'll continue to do that and see that we have regained our country and put it on the right path. It will take a process. It will take a lot of energy, but the most important thing is just coming together. And that's another discussion for another day. But we have hope, because it's the politicians themselves, especially the government, that will continue to be divisive, trying to divide us according to tribal lines, try to divide us according to religious lines. But more so, it's unfortunate that due to certain ignorances, even people are continuing from the misinformation book of the dictator, labeling Gambians as Fajara, people from Fajara, or the Fajara people, or been responsible for whatever is happening. That's a lie. That's an informed mindset. Fajara is dominated by citizens, upright citizens who have worked very hard and achieved what they did. Fajara should be an aspiration to Gambians. Let the few people among them, just as in society, make us label an entire constituency in that negative term. And I'll appeal to any person who would listen to this to think about it. We don't have time to go into that. But go to Fajara and find out if we don't find ourselves there. I'll give you an example. And I'm taking this example for a good reason. One of the most progressive communities in the Gambia are the people from Kudang. You think the people of Kudang that live in Fajara, all the major families in Kudang are living in Fajara. You think they had that because of they are corrupt? You think that they have that because of they've been given privileges they don't earn? That's an example. You have the Caesars, you Mariners, the Kurangs, and go on. It's a sign of aspiration. We grew up seeing Fajara being built. Yes, it existed, but it was just a barren, bushish and whatever it is. We grew up seeing Cape Point being built, and we all aspired then to be living there, because it was civil servants that lived there. It was people, educated people that lived there. Christians, Muslims, people from, majority of people in Fajara, in fact, are from the provinces. Let us not fall for this disinformation. Let us not fall for this division. And the youths are coming together. And let us be careful. A government like this would implant infiltrators among us, among the activists, among the politics, among everything else. We should be very careful. But that's for another day. As I said, I'm trying to keep this brief. The situation we're facing now It's a do or die. If I say do or die, people might misconstrue it, thinking it's a threat or anything. But this is the fact of life. Where democracy fails, anarchy rules. Where democracy fails, anarchy rules. Where democracy fails, then you have a authoritarian ruler in place. These are facts. And authoritarian rulers are fashionable right now in Africa. In the world. We see it in America. We see it in Africa now. The youths are celebrating in Mali. The youths are celebrating Burkina Faso. The youths are celebrating other places. And democracy have failed, especially in West Africa. We have seen it fail and been rescued in Senegal. Let me caveat that. Been rescued in Senegal. It failed in Guinea-Bissau. It's failing in Sierra Leone. It has failed in Ivory Coast. Now, what do you expect to happen? It's in either anarchy to come out and rule or authoritarian leaders to rule. But people, government take mandate from us. Government function because our consents we give them. The only means of keeping peace and stability is good governance, the rule of law, respect of rule of law, stamp out the corruption, make sure people have what they deserve. Let people able to find their potentials. But you expect to come within 8 years and turn yourself and your entire family, your entourage, who have no knowledge, have no means of being wealthy and become wealthy overnight and become multimillionaires. Where schools have failed, where the healthcare have failed, where aspirations have been diminished. What do you have left? Youths to look at the back way and die. And you said we are going to be quiet? Where you don't allow people's freedom to speak, to assembly, and try to marginalize the opposition, try to marginalize civil society. We don't talk of unions anymore in the Gambia. And you expect to live in peace in the State House, you expect to live in peace in your house, compounds, and walk in our streets. That's not true. That's why it tells you these people, greed have taken over them. They don't think. You think all this crime happening is because of people just want to commit crime? And no excuse to criminals. But the biggest criminals are at the State House and the top echelons of our society. People will revolt. But as I always advocate, we try by all means to organize ourselves to make sure we have a meaningful change by a democratic means. We still hope and have confidence in the democratic process and will do everything that it takes in order to achieve that. And if this government continue to show this, to not even show the tendencies, but to practice from the playbook of dictatorship, we are going to react. We are going to react. It become legitimate. It become legitimate to do things that would have been considered illegitimate in a democratic dispensation. We fought to bring out change. Barrow did not fight to bring out change. People around Barrow didn't find out to bring out change. Actually, those are the people we fought in order for us to achieve our aims and objectives. As I said, I'm keeping it brief. Whatever else we're going to do, we'll try and go behind the scenes, support the youths being arrested, advocate for them, and do whatever it takes for their freedom. But and to reorganize and continue this pressure to make sure we have the foundations of civil society regaining their place in society. If you understand the history of Gambia, political history of Gambia, you'll understand the role civil society played in the bringing of independence. You know the role civil society plays, in fact, to nurture our politicians. And that's what we want to regain in the civil society movements. And to make sure it's not about removing Barrow in power, but to make sure that civil society play the instrumental role they should play, to make sure democratically Barrow and his nuns are taken out of power, but again to replace it with competent authorities, replace it with competent leadership and hold them accountable. And then they never again will be true to ourselves. That's why it's instrumental to have the civil society be in the center, not even part, in the center of gravity to regain power, and to never leave that place and never leave that space for politicians or any other person to dominate. Guys, as I'm keeping it brief, I want to come onto the other part of this discourse. This is about holding the Human Rights Commission and the Gambia Media Council. This is an organization I never heard of, in fact. I only know of the GPU. And I said, bravo for the GPU for standing with Mustafa K. Dabo. S. Dabo. I know Mustafa for years now. I interacted with Mustafa for years now. And I think he's the one journalist I do interact far more than anything. We share a lot, and I have trust and confidence in whatever he does. And I don't need to even say that. His work is out there. His work is out there from Malijan to now. I knew him from Malijan to now. His work is out there. Why this time around? Why this time around? That's why I keep on telling Gambians, this government will never reveal the facts. I think by now we should move forward to ask for this government to leave. This case, the trying to reclaim the loot that they loot from Barrow, the loot Jammeh took loot of Jammeh, they taken from us, to demand this would only be achieved when we rise up to remove them in power and make sure we have a competent authority that will do that. They are compromised. The president is at the head of it. He's compromised, and the entire cabinet are compromised. They are compromised. And this is where our fight should be. And we should be very careful not to be distracted by still the remnants of the dictator trying to play games with this issue. And people asking, how can we seize everything the dictator have? As if he have never acquired anything legally. That's for him to prove. But I can tell you, we all know that he could not have acquired this thing legally. And what that means, I have to say these things because I've seen a lot of educated people trying to make this argument because they are just sympathetic to the dictator. Let's put it this way. What have the commission found out? The commission have only found out the transaction done within the government. Our aid money, our other, social security funds and other funds that he abused. And if a thief steal any capital and invested that capital into anything and that business yield any, do you know proceeds of crime? The Proceeds of Crime Act would have to take it away. Simple. If the dictator steal from us and have many farms as much as possible and make profit, and if we go after him, don't expect that we are only going to take the capital he took from us, because of that capital would have yield interest over the years. If he had stolen 1 million in the first year, that million would have been how many millions? Would have been how many millions now? Now, if he had invested our million into a business and that business yield profit, that profit is ours. We confiscate that as well. Proceeds of Crime Act. Based on the Proceeds of Crime Act. And secondly, we have not even recovered everything. We have not even recovered everything. I can tell you that for a fact. During the impasse and just after the impasse, we diasporans here, activists, were working behind the scenes to try to find out assets. In UK here, we identified 3 assets. One was in Reading, and we know the people he used to secure those assets. 3 assets in the UK. There are assets in Guinea-Conakry. There were assets in Senegal. There was an account in Senegal. And the Equatorial Guinea property he lives in, most probably is his. And these are only assets. I can tell you there are accounts run in even It's not Saint Martin's, but one of the Virgin Islands. The lawyers that were the Nigerian lawyers brought in under AG Chambers then and did the transaction, the money laundering out and everything else was known to this government. But more so, the $1 billion. Do we understand what $1 billion is? Because it's almost $1 billion in Amadou Samba's one single account, in Panama account with Amadou Samba. I am not saying that everything would be us, but I can tell you most of it would be us. Because of every business that Amadou Samba have contracted during Jammeh time, almost every business have owed us taxes or other forms of money. Because Amadou Samba and Jammeh should have been financially investigated outside the Gambia. Because if you want to investigate Jammeh outside the Gambia, you have to bring in Amadou Samba. This is why Amadou Samba is still taking it safe in Senegal. And probably soon, if we constitute a government that is really ready to do things, he will try and move away from Senegal and probably move to Equatorial Guinea or somewhere else. This is things that people should think about. And thirdly, some of these proceeds were not taken from Gambian coffers. Yes. Some of them will say, oh, but all this cannot be taken from Gambian coffers. No, but he used our office in order to make money. From allowing the drug cartel to be using our airport, our seaport, and everything else. Facilitating drug trafficking and everything is part of it. I mean, using the name of the Gambia to facilitate trafficking in Bissau, trafficking in Casamas, trafficking in Ivory Coast, trafficking in Southern Sudan, trafficking in Northern Sudan, the Cameroons, everything else is our money. And orders and orders and orders. The guy can be stripped down naked. And we should not be guilty about it. Do you know why? Because the money he have already spent would have been far more than what he could have legally acquired. Buying girlfriends, 600,000 properties in America, Gambia, every other places. The wife and spending millions on air travel and everything on the wife, shopping and everything. We can strip them all. We shouldn't be guilty. Let's move back to this. I needed to address that anyway, because unfortunately I've seen educated Gambians actually trying to have that debate. Now, let's come to the issue about Emmanuel Diouf, the chairman of the Gambia Human Rights Commission, and the other two people. By Ili Toure and Chairman Babukar Cham of the Gambia Media Commission. Not much so about the Gambia Media Commission. Because why? I know they have a mandate to get involved where a journalist have been, where a journalist have been reported. But that's a mandate. But what they're supposed to do, it's not to collude in any way. Most so, they should try to protect the journalists as much as possible, especially an innocent journalist. We all know that Mustafa is innocent of any crime. But for them, this GPU, not the GPU, the Gambia Media Council, and the Human Rights Commission, they were committing a crime, more so for the Human Rights Commission. And I'll get to that. You see, Gambians have to understand how much we achieved from this publication. The entire country are rattled. I mean the entire country rattled. I mean the people that have benefited in this. This theft. And many Gambians have been awakened. And this is what they feared. That's why they want to silence Mustafa and any other person. Now, let's look at this in this way. I can tell you, we were expecting this. Batambedu is guilty as charged. I said guilty as charged. If he was confident, he would go to the courts. And I'm not going to go through everything again, but we all know that conflict of interest, and we know the proceeds of the conflict of interest he is benefiting from, because he's married to Binta, not only that, fundamentally what constituted the crime, he was in the middle of it. He is part of conspiracy to commission a crime. If you charge him for that, he can escape. Okay, let's come to this. Batambidu, we know of, let me just take my reference here. We know after the publication, Batambidu is talking to the members, certain members of the Gambia Bar Association. And I am warning those members of the Gambia Bar Association, we know you guys. We know who Batambidu is talking to. Majority of the Bar Association chambers are really enraged about this, but the leadership of Bar Association have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. One, we know that Batambidu have tried to use certain activists that he, termed to be friends. And I can tell you, most of these activists, almost all of these activists refuse. In fact, most of these activists are redeeming themselves because of the trust and confidence they had for Batambidu. They vowed for Batambidu and everything else. Today they are regretting. They are regretting. We should understand that. They refuse to come out. Refuse to come out. That's how nasty Batambidu plays. Batambidu actually, because I'm not going to say about that person, but Batambidu actually wanted to pay someone to come after me, to dig into my life, to go after me. Yes, he did. He offered someone to come after me. That person came to me and said, look, whatever you're doing is really getting too bad. He approached me for this, and I said, look, if you have something genuine, I'm nothing to do with private lives, Ben. If I have anything genuine, bring it out. That's what I am. I'm a journalist. I'll put it out there. But if the guy is not doing anything illegal, why do you worry? That's how nasty it is. Batambidu wrote an article and want to use the article as concerned citizens, praising him on whatever, or vouching for him. He want to use that to certain media houses. Those media houses refuse to publish it. He was doing everything. They refused to publish it. He has some of his family members running around, trying to get people to come out, to vouch for him, or people to be silent. It did not work. It did not work. Then, what else left for Batambidu? He have to try and use what is left of people that will have loyalty to him. Let me come to this. This is where I have problem with Emmanuel Juf. I am a very, very close associate to a lot of members of family of extended, not even extended members of Emmanuel Juf's family. And so many respected activists I know who are very close to him. And I can tell you, all of those people are disappointed. Are completely disappointed. And I'll come to this why. Emmanuel Juf was respected. I'll say was respected of people like us. Because we never find him wanting or anything. He has been respectful. He's a good Christian man and good family man and everything else. Remember that when he came to the HMRC, all that he said, and all that he said he represented, all he said that people should represent was applauded. But today, he is that person who is making a dictator. He's now an Edemula for dictatorship. It was respected. When he was appointed as the chair of the Human Rights Commission, nobody objected. Because we cannot fault his qualification. At that time, we cannot fault his integrity because we have no evidence of him wanting, and we have hope. You see, what all of say, Karling, I'm seeing it. We can't see the future. But we go by what we can see and we can analyze. We hope that he would have done right. That's what. But down the line, he had sold himself. He have never hold the government accountable. And as time goes, in fact, he went on to become worse. I mean, that at the beginning he did some of these things with the police. In the case of the incident that happened at the black market in Serakunda and that demonstration, he came out right. I think it was that time or something with the police. He came out right. Absolutely, we supported that. Down the line, wherever there are political statements from the government or the NPP for that matter, where they have insulted, where they have used tribal, divisive languages, he went mute. For time, and if he's agitated, he will come and dilute anything and would not hold anybody. But in fact, he will want to make it a problem of politicians, but not address the person who have offended. We have heard about many instances during the mayoral elections, the president himself calling out for his supporters to attack, and we have seen an evidence that his supporters acted on that. His nephew, for that matter, Jaga, attacked people and every kind of things. We had the language of, language of Dembo by force on tribal and every other things. We have seen it. Even, statements have or acts that have marginalized the Christian community, he went mute. Or when he comes out, he will have to make it as a religious problem, not those people who are responsible of endangering the lives of our Christians or abusing their rights. For what? For what? He lost credibility then. Because we know, and we come to Batambir. But you know the worst thing to happen to people? Failing to act. You see, I remember when we were in secondary school, we've been taught civics, or mistaught civics. They say, oh, there are three types of citizens: good citizen, bad citizen, and passive. There's nothing like passive citizens. An informed citizen can be excused. And society can even take responsibility for, making sure these people are not informed. But passive, for someone who's supposed to know, someone who is given a mandate, someone who is paid, they cannot be passive. They are part of the problem. They are enablers and they are doing wrong. Generally, we only have two types of citizens, good and bad. And then anybody that might fail in the bad, we can analyze and take people who are just been carried away because of their ill-informed. But when we come to society, and we have leaders, you know why this matters? I said Gambia. Generally, Gambians are good people, and I have my reason for saying that. Because involving in networks, having a platform involved in networks, I have seen the generosity of Gambians. We cannot be measured. And travel in few African countries, I know the generosity of Gambians. And knowing the history of the Gambia, that came into independence less than 200,000 people, and today, and what constituted a Gambian today, if we are not hospitable, this identity of Gambia would not have been the Gambia we have. So many facts. But even now, what problem do we have? We have problem of leadership. You see, even people saying that, oh, blame the people because they will end up voting for Barrow. Blame the people. No, I will not blame the people. Because I tell you one thing, we all want something good in our life. But are we privileged to be in the situation that we can identify the choice? This is what happens to us. This is why they make sure people are in the dark. This is why they try to censor us, to condemn us, so that they will not enlighten people. Hey, can do nobody will choose to suffer. It's part of the ignorance we have. And those people who make sure that people are ignorant are the people like Emmanuel Juf. You see, Gambians, Africans, we like to abuse the word elite. But the true definition of elite is part of it is sophistication. Yes, it's kind of a leadership. It's kind of you call it privilege. In many ways, you can divide it as privilege. But one thing you have identified that who's the elite is someone who have the aspirations to lead, someone who have the aspiration to keep society or save society in a way, whether you agree with the person or not, but in a way of keeping the peace and tranquility of that and progressing. That should be defined as elite. Why do I say that? Because if the case of people like Emmanuel Diouf, what do they do? It's as I said earlier. If you allow a situation that you have, in fact, analyzed during the TRRC to say that where justice fails, where there's rule of law, anarchy will follow. And now you are doing the same thing. And you expect to be, to be safe. You expect your family to be safe. You expect your community to be safe. You expect society to be safe. And you call yourself elite? Not absolutely. But these are lazy individuals who have acquired certification and using that certification to sit on their bum and just to and they disregard any other moral or right thing to do. And it's unfortunate we identify them among us as Christians and Muslims and citizens. And for that matter, we try to promote them as good citizens or as worthy to be celebrated. That's why it's important to get into this. Now, why would I say one offense, neglecting your duty? Emmanuel Diouf, the Human Rights Commission was created for a reason, and as an oversight body to protect. It's part of the reforms to protect the fundamental human rights of Gambians and people within the Gambia, to improve our governance. And now the budget is for $60 million. $60 million. How can they account for that money? What have they done to deserve the $60 million? Nothing, absolutely. In fact, they are enabling. And now, because of Emmanuel, contract is due. Because Emmanuel was yes, I'm not saying he wasn't qualified, but it was because of bad time that he had the job. And now, because of his term is going to finish, he will need to be renewed. He wants to be in the good books of government in order to continue to sit on an executive position and take people's money and not work for what he is mandated for. This is the fact that happened. That's bad. But you know what is worse? You've been selected, appointed to oversee. Now, the recent offense he did, I forget that, is trying to support this Barrow illegal draft constitution. And when he was attacked, myself, he tried to say, oh no, it's misunderstood, that's not what we said. It was clear. That's what you did. For him now to take part in abusing people's rights, take part in undermining the accountability process we have, undermining the press. Can you imagine that? He should safeguard the fundamental freedoms of people to write, to advocate. Because we know there's nothing in that publication that's said to be wrong. Nothing absolute. Now, imagine this. Ask yourself, what mandate does Emmanuel Diouf have to sit with Mustafa Dabo, Swandi Dabo, and the Gambia Media Council? What mandate does he have? At the time of inviting Mustafa Swandi Dabo, without telling him the reason of inviting him, Mustafa did not commit a crime. Mustafa was not a victim of a crime. Then why? If Mustafa did not report to the commission that his fundamental rights have been abused, why would Emmanuel Diouf be in a conversation about Mustafa? Ask yourself. Why Emmanuel Diouf will be in a conversation about Mustafa if Mustafa did not appeal for Emmanuel Diouf's office? Because Emmanuel Diouf have just brought, the reason I'm emphasizing on him because he went and attended. But I can tell you his even colleagues should hold him to account that he has brought that office into disrepute. Emmanuel Diouf should go. He should go. Because now he went to that meeting. Who initiated the meeting? On whose behalf? It was on behalf of Batambi. As I said, Batambi was trying everything. And the friends, colleagues, and some, I know some Bar Association members were trying to see how to help him intimidate, to try to whitewash, whatever it is. Emmanuel Diouf went to that meeting. To do what? To say that, to bring Mustafa and to try to get Mustafa to absolve Batambiru. Can you believe that? Mustafa wrote a publication. Took his time to do all that. And now you accept, you want that person to come and say that, and I'll come to the details, the point they were looking at on behalf of Batambiru. They did this on behalf of Batambiru. He should not be there. Mustafa did not report anybody that have abused his rights. But let's watch this. When is Emmanuel Diouf going to come out to talk about the rights of citizens and what the police are doing, what the government are doing, denying people permit? First, he will never address government on that. Two, on the police preempting and arresting citizens and keeping some of them incommunicado, spreading them all around the country. He will not going to address that, or if he comes, he will caveat it as much as not hold the government accountable. Because if he is out there actively, proactively, acting to whitewash his friend who gave him a job, now that person will be turning around, you expect him to protect. In fact, not only whitewash, he in fact abusing the rights. And I'll come to that. This is simple. I'll tell you, this is simple. The facts will come out. This is no insinuation and anything. What has been published already is enough to tell that Batambiru, who organized Alpha Capital, Batambiru, who brought in Binta, the girlfriend and now wife, into a deal with President Barrow, is capable on conspiracy, commissioning a crime, and Batambiru will be guilty for conflict of interest, and so on and so forth. That cannot be disputed. Just so far. But I can tell you guys, there's so much more. And because of this discourse going out, we are going to come with so much more. Now we are seeing details. People are coming out now to clear themselves or to put their position for people to decide what has happened. We are seeing it, and you can see. And one of those I'll point to is Alpha Barry, how he managed to get the former dictator's wife, the young lady Salah, who Alpha Barry is by extension related to, make sure he acquire a property that Yaya Jammeh had before for $3 million. Guys, you know that nothing around Bulford Heights is $3 million. Not even the land. We'll come to all those details. They know what's coming out for them. Alpha Barry right now is Nigeria trying to avoid situation in the Gambia. Now they're trying everything to sniff this off. It's not going to be sniffing off. Now, I can tell if Batambiru was not guilty, or if he not feel guilty, Batambiru will just walk to the courts and sue Mustafa Dabo. Batambiru will not go to the extent of going to Peter, going to the press and everything. Because why would anybody believe what you said because of you said it in the press? That's public opinion. We have already made our mind. You cannot change that. Now, if you want to legally absolve yourself, it's through the courts. You know that. You might be a bad lawyer, but you're not stupid to know that the only way to bring things clear is to put yourself before the competent court of justice. That's one. If Bar did not want to take the trouble of suing, do you know that Bar have the facts? Bar have the evidence. Bar have a copy of everything that the transactions. Binta has a copy, and Binta have made it clear. If they want to sacrifice Binta, Binta will come with his copy and everything will break loose. Because now they are holding each other. You see, this is what happened when you commission a crime with other people. What we call loyalty will change. Loyalty will change due to time. Loyalty will change due to self-preservation. That's why when crimes are committed, one of the ways to solve a crime is to communicate the crime measurably, so that people with vested interests, people with other interests will come out and help you detect this crime. And this is actually happening now behind the scenes. If Bartamido feel he's guilty, let him bring out what we asked for. Let him bring out the minutes, he have the minutes. Let him bring out the list, he have the list, everything entirely. Alpha Barry, if he feels that he's not guilty, let him bring out everything. They should not either let them go to court so that we can ask through the court, and they will have to bring it out. That's why they are not going to court, because we'll have to demand everything, they will not bring it out. If they don't want to go to court, if they just want to clear their name, let them bring everything out into public opinion. If they want to change public opinion, that's not enough. That's only to absorb it from public, and probably win over public opinion. Why? Ultimately, it had to be adjudicated in order to determine the facts. Now, people that hold the facts, if they are afraid of the facts, they are guilty, because that's why they're afraid of the facts. If you have accused me of something I knew I'd not done, and it needs to be, I needed to be explained myself, I'll just go and do it. Going to Peter Gomez, going to anywhere else, try all this thing will not work. Now, this is what we expected of Bar. Now, let's come to the areas. Emmanuel Diouf got himself involved with the Gambia Media Commission. You see, Gambia is very small and interconnected. And people like myself, I have great networks of finding out things. You see, when we allow the people like Nene McDolgay is behind the Media Commission. Yes. It's behind the Media Commission. She's the one pushing. Yeah, you have the dictator, actors that went and betrayed December 30th and got them all killed just from a phone call. Calling the Gambian embassy, I want to speak to Jammeh. And if you hesitate, if I don't speak to Jammeh, he might even be killed tonight. And that person he spoke to at the embassy, obviously have to get contact with Jammeh and say, oh, Nene Magdol, the person you throw out your cabinet, the person you have insulted, the person you denigrated and everything and run into exile, have called to say that if you don't speak to him tonight, if you don't speak to her tonight, you might be killed. You think what Jammeh did? Jammeh called. And he told Jammeh about 30th December. You see, that's how Jammeh knew about 30th December. And when Jammeh knew about 30th December, and because the detail given that they have infiltrated your security, they have been in the country for that long, after they brought in arms and everything, Jammeh was petrified. Jammeh started into panic. That's why he ran out of the country, because he could not know who was trusted, who could be trusted or not. Then some of the people that were going to support the 30th December decided, because they themselves too, they don't know. They did not know. They did not know who leaked it. Now everybody started to feel suspicious to others. Now everybody have to prove themselves, because they know if you don't act to keep them in account to this thing, you'll be dealt with. Now the time is filled. Now this is how they lure the 30th December guys into this thing. It's Nene McDolgay. In 3 days, you know Yaya Jammeh asked who is? In 3 days, Yaya Jammeh brought him back to the country and appointed him External Affairs Minister. Not to reward him, but to expose her. Because the people are not stupid now. They can put the dots together. That Nene McDolgay, bringing that Nene McDolgay to be a chairman of the, how to call it, the Freedom of Information Commission. And technically, being the chairman of the Freedom of Information Commission, she have a role to play with the Gambia Media Commission. Why would you get someone like that? Why get someone like Indy? You see, that's why I said we have to remove this government. There's no institution independent in that government, just as the police, the brother-in-law, all these commissions that we think, the ombudsman, these things are not going to help us to maintain our democracy, to improve and progress. The so-called anti-corruption commission is not going to work. That has been sabotaged from the beginning by Batambedu, because Batambedu already he was a taker. Remember, Batambedu was very influential. Batambedu was very liked and supported with all the controversies that were coming out. He came out saying the right things at the beginning. Oh, we are going to have a asset declaration. The same Batambedu walked back in after a week. No, we are now going to do this. Nothing's going to change in that country until we change and make sure the people replacing are held accountable, are competent and held accountable. That's why you support civil society to get back to the center of gravity to make sure we can bring about that change. And they will be part of that change. And whoever or party that came to power or a coalition that comes to power would make sure we continue to hold them accountable, because government is by the people for the people. Let's come back to this. Emmanuel Diouf went and sat with this kind of people. If Emmanuel Diouf is the person we hope he was, he would not have sat there knowing that he had no mandate to sit in that gathering, because of nobody reported to the commission. He just took his position and abused it and brought the commission into disrepute by sitting there because of his friend Batambedu. Because what they doing was illegal. They invited the young Mustafa Dabo without even notifying him why they invited him. Mustafa Dabo went and said to the Gambia Media Commission for the respect he had for that institution. And bravo again for the GPU for standing with him. And you call him for negotiations, but even not only negotiations, it to in fact try to get him to white was his own and destroy him completely. Because if Mustafa Dabo had agreed to what they wanted, that's the end of Mustafa Dabo's career. And not only his career, but the hope for justice in the Gambia, but hope that we had on young journalists, upcoming journalists. Because Mustafa Dabo represented a lot for today's feature in the Gambia. Now, you said, oh, Mustafa, this is name for Mustafa Dabo. This is name for Mustafa Dabo. And I can tell you, the minute if Mustafa Dabo have accepted what they wanted, the next minute will go out, he was bribed. He was bribed. But thank God, he's mature, he's independent, thoughts and everything else. And he's brave. He's brave. The intimidation did not work and would not work on him. And we'll stand with him. Let's look at the points. The points raised here, they invited Mustafa Dabo, and who invited Mustafa Dabo? The Gambia Media Commission, under the leadership of by Ili Toure and Chairman Babukar Cham. I don't know who they are. I don't even know this institution existed. But later I went and educated myself. I was told, yeah, it was actually created by the GPU and so on. And why Nene Magdol? Because the person who gave me information, I said, why Nene Magdol? Nene was in this commission. No. Man, he play a role, and these two people, are part of the media commission as well. And you have to remember something. Dauda Jallo is continuity of Batambedu. You know, when Bar left, he's principally the one who recommended Dauda Jallo. And they make sure Dauda stayed there. Let's move. Now, they came out to put certain points to Mustafa. One, they said that the story is confusion. Now, what mandate do they have to think for people? A journalist writes something and put it in the open. in the open. Now, how do they determine that people are confused of the reporting? And if people are confused of the reporting, is it because of the reporting, or people are confused because they could not even accept that the government they brought in, struggled to bring in, would go to this extent? Or they're confused that someone they thought was an upright person have the audacity to go and introduce a girlfriend to the president, and for him and the president to go and conspire with Alpha Barry to loot our coppers. This is the probably confusion people have. How can these things happen in our Gambia? Because they refuse to see that's why I said the good side of Gambians. This is what they call naive. When say Gambian, they're naive. Even our Senegalese cousin will say Gambian, then con, because of our goodness. Then con. And it's the same naivety that people are taking, that nature of like Rafet Njofra, try to see the good light of people that people take for granted and try to abuse us. Now, what Mustafa had reported was clear. How can anybody, the simplest of English, communicated right, the simplest of English, nothing complicated in that. You don't have to be a graduate to understand what was reported. And what he have reported have been enforced by many people. And many instances. I reported on Alpha Capital 4 years ago. How can it be confusion? They say confused. Who are they speaking on behalf of themselves and Batambi? 2. Sorry, I wrote it in shorthand, and I'm sorry. 2, they said the story is misunderstood. And because of it have seen as an indictment on Batambi. You see, okay. When a journalist writes out there, people will take minutes position of it. But where facts are present, the educated, smart people would take a position based on the facts present. That's not the fault of a journalist. When people identify, see the evidence, see the receipts, even receipts are provided, material evidence provided in the publication, not just hearsay. And again, people who in fact are doubting hearsay, go and read the law of evidence by Hassan B. Jallo on hearsay. He have made these things on hearsay. How admissible can be hearsay? And this is not on hearsay. It's a material evidence. It can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. A criminal act, especially the low bar of conspiracy. If Batambi present himself in any court of law, he was going down. And if we had the government that was competent, Batambi would go down. He would have been in prison right now. But if Batambi was in prison right now, Barrow would have been in prison with behind bars, and Binta Alpha and many other people that would be implicated. The buyer and seller thing is kind of a neat investigation. This is buyer and seller, but the people executed the conspiracy is plain out there. Anything you said in the report is you have to dig into the buyer and seller and see how, but some of it are even out there. You can see through them. They might be tested in court of law to determine, but some of the other facts is just out there. Conflict of interest and others. You think someone would take their girlfriend and make their girlfriend benefit, and to have a multi-million and marry that girlfriend, and that person say, I'm not benefiting in that proceeds. You are benefiting many proceeds of that. That's the reason you facilitated it. Where we have seen the evidence, you're trying to push, as the Justice and Attorney General, push for allocation of 6 hectares. Conspired with your girlfriend to, in fact, deny the half of the family of your now wife's family from inheritance. Binta Sise owned that property now. Binta Sise is developing that property. That's how much callous Batambi is. How much a criminal Batambi is. Let's move on. How can they say that Batambi is indicted in the report? The report did not say categorically, oh, go for this thing. No, the report was not subjective in that manner. No. Not towel. He put the facts out there. And it was for the authorities, if he had any, would have gone for prosecution. Say that, indicted Bah. It continued to say, Tambiedu was only given 5 days to reply that is seen as unfair. Now, can you imagine that a former Attorney General, Minister of Justice, that this callous people will be sitting down to protect his rights, that he was given 5 days to reply? Myself, not a lawyer, if you go given me unreasonable time to reply to something, substance, what should I do? Would I not note to you that, the 5 days or 7 days is unreasonable? I need time to respond. Do you want to tell me that Mustafa Swandi Dabo would have received from Batambidu, said, look, you notify me 5 days, I'm quite a busy man, and these things I need to get back to you in a month. This report has been compiled, I can tell you, for almost 2 years, running around to get receipts, running to how to do it. He did the most outstanding this thing. 5 days? Let them show us where Batambi to have approached Mustafa Dabo to say that give me a month or 2 weeks for me to respond, and Mustafa Dabo said, no, I'm not going to do that because I want to be unfair to you. You see, I think probably if people don't know Mustafa Dabo, but I think from the work, you see, this is how you know people, from the work he did, from the pedophiles, from the timber, from the airport, surcharge. Let's go on. From Malijan to now, how many reports? Why this one? Why this one? Now, how can they say that he was unfair because of 5 days? You think Ba doesn't know his rights? You think Ba doesn't... The guy was a glorified clerk with Asanjalo at Aruza. The guy came from that level to be given the position of advising the government on law and in fact given the entrusted a mandate to prosecute and enforce a law. The guy left that and went to the ICJ as a registrar. And you want to tell me he doesn't know his rights? That Mustafa Dabo can deny him his rights? Or let him take it to court then. That's a lie. And this is what Emmanuel Diouf have brought himself down to. But even worse. And they said, Republic refused to give due consideration to Ba opinion. What? You want to believe that? We have seen the reaction. What Ba have responded on the inquiries from Republic. If Ba has anything extra, it would have to produce the receipts. Produce the receipts. But I know Mustafa would not allow Ba to dictate what he writes. But he will make sure that he represents what Ba have said. They cannot dictate what Mustafa would write or Republic should, the way they should publish it. No. I'm not sure that he was fair to them. And he was fair to Ba. And Emmanuel will know that. It was nothing unfair on that report. Ba's side have been heard. And they said this, they put it this way, what going round suggesting that Mustafa was paid. Mustafa was paid by who? How can Emmanuel Diouf be bringing himself down to this? How come? In training, Mustafa was paid. You see, we all know how the media works. And if anyone doing the paying is Batamir, I can tell you that. I don't want to get into details because some people were kind of involved and the way it happened. Let me say this. Mustafa Dabo have made Republic had made it categorically clear that they have a sponsor. They made it clear in the report for the investigation. And this is standard practice for investigation journalists. This is standard practice. Where else do you expect Mustafa to be getting the money from government? Why the government did not give him the part of the 10 million? 40-something million? And Mustafa would not have taken it because he knows what it means. There are organizations in this world who are fighting for transparency, justice, and human rights that Batambi don't know about, that Batambi took money from as justice minister in order to bring Yaya Jammeh to books and on other issues. Was he paid to tarnish anybody's image? Was Batambedu, when he was the justice minister, that he took grants and technical assistance, was that to tarnish someone's image or to do his job properly? What's the difference here? But they are not referring to what was standard practice, what have nothing conflicting, nothing to worry about. They would have referred to that organization because they know that if they refer to that organization and accuse that organization can come back and bite them. They want to, you see, bring it to Gambia. Yeah, hey, then coffee. Is Batambe Usenu Dabo that he have a political career for someone to tarnish? Is Batambe do SFR that have a political career? Is Batambe do Mama Kande? Halifa Saleh or anybody else? Or you want to say that some people have personal grudges against and will go to Mustafa Dabo to tarnish him for personal grudges? Knowing the background of Mustafa Dabo, all these reports, you think Mustafa Dabo was taking backhanders? You think if Mustafa Dabo was taking backhanders, the Dabos are jealous. But, they are fair jealous. If you take taking backhanders, you think he would live this modest life? You think he was taking backhanders, these pedophiles, this dodgy charities, these people smuggling timber, these people, these things. Look, we know what's behind the scenes. Is someone we can vouch for that he did not take backhanders. He doesn't take backhanders. We know, people that know him, know his financial situation right now. Right now, we know his financial situation. We know how many people he got involved and how much resources needed to keep it going. We know how time and resources taken in order to produce such reports. There's no evidence out there. If you have the evidence, pretty bad, but insinuating, what's going on, you've been paid. That's childish. That's criminal. And Emmanuel Diouf brought himself down to accuse a journalist like that. Guys, is that not abusing the journalists' freedoms? Try to, as the commissioner, as the chairman of the Commission of Human Rights. Is that not a disgrace? On another note, it went on, they moved on to, the timing is not appropriate. These people are only looking for Bar's, Bar's interest. Timing not appropriate. Because of what? Bar have applied for a job he's not even qualified to do. Yes, I said he's not qualified. You have more qualified people. It's a waste of our resources in order to spend any penny on Bar for this job. I said it before. Bar was in Arusa as an administrator. Go and look at Bar trial history. Go and look at it. Since he became a lawyer, go and see how many cases did he get involved in, or led, or tried, not even involved. Because he have few that he was when he was training, that he led to qualify him. He have never been a judge. When he came to the Gambia, instead of concentrating in delivering, and if he had delivered, today he was going to be one of the most credible Gambians to challenge, to become the chief executive of the Gambia, or to any positions, and Gambians would have supported him. Gambians, people like me, I won't support it of emotions or any nonsensical thing. When he left, he ran away. Because of one, he knew the corruption he was involved in, the multi-million they've looted from us. It's not 89 million, it's far more than that. He knows that now he is kind of in a very tight corner that he have to marry someone he presented to the president as a friend. Now the conflict of interest is now very glaring. And The other things he have facilitated a lot for Barrow behind the scenes. But this one he cannot come in the open and do was to stand there and make sure he derailed the 2020 draft. He doesn't want to do that. He don't want that in records. Secondly, the TRRC recommendation, he doesn't want to do that. He ran. You cannot, as a citizen of any country, a patriotic citizen of any country, be given a job as the Justice Minister and Attorney General. It's really in any democracy, you have one person occupying these two offices. A young man, a gentleman, in a country like the Gambia, a small country that everybody would know about you. You're given that important position, especially in a transition. You left that position to go for a contract at the ICJ as a registrar. Anybody can go and Google what's the role of a registrar. It's an administrative job. And how can that person be qualified to be a judge at the ICJ when you have all the competent individuals in West Africa, East Africa, and other places who have been judges, who have worked within the international criminal courts and everything else, and you will look the same. Look, I know. I'm not a fool to not know how these international communities work. And I can tell you right now, one of the things people know, that Israel is lobbying. The only way he could be a success if he managed to position himself for Israel to support him. The likely candidate coming in will be supported by Israel. If you understand geopolitics, you understand what I'm saying. He doesn't have the qualifications. He don't have the means. But now he has to run down. Now to associate with Sidinjais, spending time with Sidinjai, partying with Sidinjai. This is what he reduced himself to, because he just wants to secure a position, because Barrow would not forgive him. Even his own blood brother cannot, who's the lawyer to Barrow, cannot even beg for Barrow to forgive him. But Sidinjai is that instrumental, and got him in, even for the government to nominate him. He tried to be external affairs minister after the elections. His brother could not make Barrow to do that. How did he get it now? To be nominated is Sidinjai. Now, this person, why does it matter that he applied for a job, or whoever it is? They want to tell us, Emmanuel Diouf sat on a table to decide that a potential criminal should be empowered. A potential criminal. I emphasize the word potential. But in my heart and mind, in fact, it's not, I should not use the word potential, because the evidence are glaring. And I can state it and let him come and sue me, because he threatened that before, and when the minute I engage him, because he thought I'm just a buffoon on social media. When I wrote him a letter and point to the point of law, he ran away. And I didn't have to consult a lawyer to do that. For Emmanuel Diouf to sit on that, to consider, oh, you should not have written this, which is a freedom that people have, freedom journalists have, not only that a mandate a journalist have, freedom and a mandate journalist has. To write, to enlighten people. He said, no, you should have covered this. That's what he's saying. Because of the timing, he want to be a judge. Can you see how unfair this is? The timing of the appointment. Now, this Emmanuel Diouf sat on the table. I'm not obsessed with him, because this is the person who have a mandate to protect, but in fact taking part in subjugating Gambians now. All the things. Suggesting a joint release statement that the story is not an indictment and people misunderstood. Now, how can you judicate a legal person like Emmanuel? How can you judicate a situation like this? Why you bring yourself into the institution you represent into dispute? Now you want a journalist to whitewash. You know, this is the things what happen in the dictatorship. You know, as I said, the reason I always said we are not yet in a dictatorship doesn't mean that we are not seeing the act of dictatorship in practice. But I can tell you that if we are not vigilant, it will happen. This is what they want. This is like bringing someone to the NIA and make him to sign on a dotted line. And we are almost there now. The SIS, we are trying. There's such a lot of things behind the scenes people don't know. The SIS, we are trying. And this is, let's leave that there. Because we are monitoring everything that's going on. Now, in order, if it was any other situation, they would have get him at the NIA, get him at the police station. Right now, they are working out to try to bribe some of these people arrested. We are going to look into all that. They could have bribed him, they could have this thing. But because of Mustafa's integrity, they struggle. Now they want to tell him to go on a joint statement with Bartlambedo to say that the story is not an indictment to Bartlambedo. Why do journalists do that? Can they show us anywhere that the story said, oh, this is an indictment of reason he should be prosecuted? Have they seen that? No. How can they want the journalists to turn around to say that, oh, people misunderstood? How can the journalists gauge what people understood or not? That's not for journalists to do that. That's people's freedom to think. This is not North Korea. This is not Iran or quarters of Iran, not entirely Iran, that people don't have their mind. This is what they want to instill on us. And imagine if Mustafa was not strong enough and agreed to this. That's the end of his life in journalism. But not only him, but for the upcoming young journalists and all practicing journalists say, oh, come Mustafa Dabo. Ni Mustafa Dabo kisinyikeno. Motitula. Suko Mustafa Dabo Munedef can do this. That's what it does. You bring an institution into disrepute. When people look for up to you, when you are a leader, that's why you should be careful. And this is what Emmanuel have done. The Emmanuel family doesn't deserve this. He should not do that to his family. The friends doesn't deserve this. Colleagues doesn't deserve this. Gambian don't deserve this. We are paying him well to do a job. He should do that job, right? And in fact, and imagine, in fact, not only not doing the job, but in fact going out to act as an enabler to do this. Many people respected him before, but it's no doubt now. Unless people just want to, that person want to look another way, we know that he's indicted for doing this. And I hope he reform and change and do the right thing. And history, let him do it for his family. Let him do it for himself. I'm gonna look off your You have the education. You can try and do other things. And you should stand for what you believe. Hey, we will come back to this. Accountability will ensure. Whether it's in your presence or in your absence. Whether today or tomorrow it will happen. Because of it, we are in a new generation. All of things is documented and it will be, people continue to view and make their opinion on that. And the final part is saying that Bartlambedo can, or, take legal action. If that's not intimidation, what it is? For a humble gentleman, a journalist that didn't do anything wrong, did well. And you want to threaten him for his earning. We know what it means to take someone to court in the Gambia. Is they're going to delay it as much as possible. They will force you into taking lawyers. They will force you into distress and everything else. That's intimidation. It's good as so wahut. Sindel say dingaham. It's good as to say ni man diamo ni mursana ibalon. Ni man diamo side ni mursana ibalon. That's good. It's an intimidation for the Human Rights Commissioner, a chairman, to sit on the table. Why are they representing Bar? Bar is capable of representing himself. Let Bar take to court. Let Bar make the threat. Guys, it's have taken long. This is what, yeah, I couldn't have time to summarize. But inshallah, tonight, we're going to record extensively on this attempted peaceful demonstration and what it entails and others. Thank you very much and have a good day.